Good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. This is the Wednesday learning session for local bartending school. My name is Carlos Navi. I do this every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I have been a full service bartender. If you guys don't know me, I have been a full service bartender for 20 plus years now. Don't kick the camera. For 20 plus years now in Florida, California, Alabama, Tennessee, Arizona, and I even ran a bar in Mexico for a little while, which is where I met my wife, who lives with me here in San Luis Obispo, California, where I live now, and I'm coming to you from my backyard today. I started training bartenders for local bartending school about 7 years ago when I still lived in Florida before I moved back to California. Continued to do it this whole time, whenever there's an available student, and I'm happy to do it. You might notice me from part of the online curriculum. I am in some of the videos on there as well. So I am here every Wednesday, always happy to answer any questions concerning the topic or any other topic that you may have questions about. I've not bartended in every bar in the world, nor have I been to every bar in the world. I gave it a good go. However, it's tough to do. So, if you ever get a question, I will answer it to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. So I do always like to start off just to see if there are any questions about anything that anyone has to start off the day before I begin. All right. In that case, as we were getting close to Thanksgiving, it occurred to me and the thought crossed my mind, in the tradition of the Pilgrims, to make it a truly, festive Thanksgiving and appreciate it completely, in the proper fashion, because I'm actually having not turkey tomorrow. I'm having lobster and steak. So it's going to be a little different, but I'm looking forward to it. So since we weren't, going traditional food, I thought, hey, did they have alcoholic beverages at the first Thanksgiving? And if so, what did they have, and how can I honor this tradition? So first, I just kind of went to look back at first of all the Mayflower, the ship itself, and as it turns out, before the Mayflower, was commissioned by the Pilgrims, commissioned by the Protestants to bring them to the New World, it actually had a little bit of a history itself. And at one point, it did transport Bordeaux wine and cognac from France to England. So it was kind of a rum runner ship. It was a ship that took cargo of alcohol before the Pilgrims were ever on there. Once again, Bordeaux is Bordeaux wine from the Bordeaux region. And many, many moons ago, I guess it's been a couple decades now, since Robert Mondavi and California Wines kind of took over, that most wines were referred to by their French name. Bordeaux, I believe the equivalent, what we call in the United States, of Merlot would be, I believe, the equivalent wine of what a Bordeaux would be. And cognac, once again, just comes from the Cognac region of France, just like Champagne only comes from Champagne, France. It's just brandy from the Cognac region of France, generally very high end. Once again, to remind you, brandy is made from grapes. It is distilled grapes, distilled grape juice that is then barreled, flavors added to it, and aged much the same way whiskey is. So it does resemble whiskey in a lot of ways, in a lot of senses, as far as flavor, color, the way it's aged, and kind of the flavor as well. So, it was used to run that stuff as well. Also used to run hops, hemp, hats, wood, tar, and at one point was even a whaling vessel, it is rumored. So that's what it did before the Pilgrims came and commissioned it. And then finally the Protestants commissioned it to take them to the New World because they were not happy with the oppression of their religion and what they had to put up with England. So they were going to start new life in the New World. And that's where we got the first Thanksgiving. So they get on the Mayflower. They get on the Mayflower to come here. And what did they bring with them? Of course, they brought some beer. They brought some wine with them. And they brought another thing called aquavita. This is my best I can pronounce it. So I did a little bit of research about that, tried to look at what it is. Basically a distilled spirit, something like whiskey or wine. And even each guy would be issued like a little flask of it. for a day or for a night, even to go out in the woods and adventure and, go on, I call that, basically scouting parties and stuff when they got to the New World. So that was it. They had beer and wine. They had some sort of distilled spirit and booze when they got on the boat. However, things did not go necessarily great for them on the trip over. It was sort of a little rough, bumpy, volatile trip. They did lose a lot of people. A lot of people get sick. I think they broke their mast at one point, had to repair it. There's a lot of talk about turning around and heading back. But eventually they forged on. They did make it to the New World. They did make it to uh, Plymouth, as it is, and make it to the New World. However, things were pretty harsh there. And I think half the Pilgrims didn't make it through the first winter there. And eventually, it took a lot of help from the local Indians, and I'm trying not to butcher this name, from the Wampanoag Indians to help the Pilgrims get along, help them have to, plant crops, fish, hunt, do stuff like that to survive. The problem though is they ran out of all the alcohol eventually. All the wine and all the beer and all the aquavita that they brought with them was all consumed and ran out very quickly. So by the time they got around to the next year's harvest and the time we consider now to be Thanksgiving, it was all gone. So what did they drink? What did they have alcoholic? Well, they didn't have any wheat or barley type grains or anything that they could make beer out of, but they did have apples. So they were able to ferment the apple juice to make it into a hard apple cider, which was, I don't think very strong, probably 3 or 4% alcohol. Not too bad, not too strong. And we're able to take that and put it into and barrel it, age it, ferment it, and have that. And so probably 3 to 5 gallons of cider was served at the first Thanksgiving. So if you want to find a good Thanksgiving drink to to really celebrate Thanksgiving and the first Thanksgiving, try it apple cider. Strongbow is very good. It's an excellent one. Strongbow Cold. If you don't know any apple cider, it's Angry Orchard's okay. Stuff like that. So that's just a little bit about history and Thanksgiving and what they served at the first Thanksgiving. I do want to talk about something else because I knew that was going to take a long time there. So I wanted to kind of add a little bit to what I was talking about last week as far as POS systems, because we kind of got a late start. I didn't want to go over too much, but there is another part of that, and I brought it up a little bit, and I just want to continue a little bit with that as well. And that has to do is when it comes to counting money and checking money and making sure the money's right. It is very, very important to remember. I'm grab my other book here and open that up. It is very, very important to remember that the bartender is responsible for the money. You're responsible for the bank that's issued to you. So, if I'm going in and they're giving me, $300 to start with for the night, I'm responsible for that. I'm also responsible for all the money I'm taking in as cash payments as well. So when I check it out, it's mine until I check it back into a manager or drop it in a safe, which I've had to do at places here. So it is very important to make sure you're counting it, to make sure you're being diligent, to make sure you're good with the money, and to make sure it is accurate. Because if you make mistakes, it does come out of your pocket. And sometimes, if you're diligent and you're doing a good job with it and there are mistakes, a lot of times you can go back into the computer, you can go back into the POS system, find the mistakes and fix them. It happens a lot of times. I can't tell you how many times I've just been in a hurry and gone to give myself a $10 tip, hit one too many zeros and accidentally gave myself a $100 tip and just hit the button before I realized it. And yeah, at the end of the night, I think I made, an extra $90. Like, wow, this is a really good night. But no, I didn't. What happened is I hit it wrong and something's up with the numbers. And I probably know that I didn't make that money. So I would go back and look. And I've had to go back and look, like, this didn't seem right. I need to go look at the numbers. I need to make sure because something's off with the money. So it is important to count it diligently and make sure you're going through it. And you should be issued the money always by a manager and generally in a back office where you can count it. Let me flip the page. Generally in a back office where it can be counted. Count it in that back office, count it in front of the manager. Make sure that it's correct before you leave the office. I've found errors in both ways. I've been up too much. I've been down too much. So it does happen both ways. You know, I think I mentioned this, that I did once find a stack of $1 bills with a 5 and a 10 in it. So make sure you open up all the stacks. $1 bills should always be stacked in stacks of 25. $5 bills should always be stacked in stacks of 20 bills, which makes it $100. You generally don't get a lot of 10s. 10s come in stacks of either 10, which is 100, or 20, which is 200. Depends place to place. $25 bills are always stacked in stacks of, I should know this one, of 25. That's $500. So if you're counting money both ways, as it goes out to you, it should all be counted and stacked properly. And it goes back in at the same time, you should be counting it and stacking it properly and wrapping it up, rubber banding it, or paper clipping it to put it back together. So make sure you're taking apart the bundles, make sure you're stacking it, you're counting them all, make sure you got the correct bills. Like I said, I've taken apart a bundle of 25 ones, and there was a $5 and a $10 bill in there. Could I have taken their $13? Yeah. But I made a lot more than $13 a day there. I'm not trying to steal $13 from them. It was an okay job. So, I let the managers know I was counting the office. There were 2 managers there. I just let them know, hey, why don't you guys take a look at this one? They replaced it with the right amounts. They fixed it. In some situations, the manager will just correct it. In other situations, I have had to make a note of it. So in some places I would be giving a sheet. I would sign the sheet that the cash was right every day when I got there. I'd sign the sheet on the way out saying cash was, right when I left. And, I would have to mark it on that sheet. Bank was short $10. I would have a manager come over, count it, verify it, and sign that sheet as well as me. So the manager verified it and knew that that the bank was actually short that I got. The other thing I'll say on that is you don't necessarily have to count rolled coins. They're generally pretty right on as far as that goes. And worst case scenario, you're down a quarter. It's not the end of the world. Start to lose dollars. That makes a big difference. That starts to add up quick. So count it diligently. Go put it into the cash register and make sure you close out of your screen on the POS. All POSs have a button that says no sale generally, or open drawer. So if you leave your screen open, if you leave your number open, your specific screen open on the POS, someone can just come push that button and open it up and have access to the money. So if you're not right there behind the bar, if you're walking away, especially first thing in your shift, you come, you get your money, you take it, you count it, you make sure it's fine. You take it to the register, you put it in, make sure then you're exiting out of the POS so no one can come back behind you and access that money. Real simple to do, because I'm going to walk away from that point. I'm going to go to get ice to set up. I'm going to go, to get fruit to cut, or I'm going to go to stock liquor, or I'm going to go to do this, or I'm going to go to do that. So just make sure that you are exiting out of your screen at that point so that no one can come back behind you and access that money that is in that drawer. During the course of your shift, try to keep it neat, try to keep it nice. I've seen different people put, denominations from right to left in increasing values. Seen people do it the opposite way, denominations from, left, I think it said that opposite, left to right and right to left, and decreasing or increasing denominations. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever's most comfortable with you. As long as you can be fast and you can be efficient and you're comfortable and it keeps you from making mistakes, then, you should be fine. That's the most important thing. You need to be comfortable with the money. You need to be comfortable handling the money and dealing with that. I saw a girl that did this once, and I still can't figure this out though. She had $1 bills in one slot, and then she had $5 bills in a slot, $5 bills in a slot. I'm not sure. So it was very weird, but however it's comfortable is the most important thing as far as that goes. During the shift, try to keep it nice. Try not to keep it too messed up as far as, folded bills and stuff getting crumpled or mashed in there too much. If you do have the situation where you get too many bills to where it won't fit in a cash register, you should have a bag or something that you could put it in, secure it in another location, or give it to a manager to hold till the end of the night, because you just have too much money in the drawer to hold, and it starts to stuff up and it will get behind the cash drawer. It can get behind the cash drawer pretty easily. So, do be aware of that. And if it does start to get too full on you, I do at the end of the night, Once you've run your numbers, you've done everything, it is proper to cash your tips all back in. Generally, places want the small bills and would prefer that you take home larger bills. Simply because at some point someone has to go to the bank and get more change. They will have to go get $1 bills, $5 bills, and quarters and stuff like that. A lot of bars, depending on where you work, don't necessarily use pennies, nickels, and dimes. A lot of them just round everything to the nearest quarter to make it easier, to make it faster, to just do single drink exchanges. So, like I said, most places just be to the quarter. You won't even have those penny, nickels, and dimes. I forgot my point there. I got sidetracked. But just know, yeah, they want the quarters back. They want the dollars back. They want the fives back. They definitely want the small bills back. So before I count my bank down, I am counting all my tips out. And at the same time, before I cash them back in, I want to make sure that I'm counting them in the proper stacks before I give them back to the restaurant or the bar that I work at, because everything should be stacked properly. So ones in stacks of 25, fives in stacks of 20, to make sure that I'm giving them back to them in the proper bundled in the right amounts. And cash it back in. Take the hundreds, take the big bills, take them home with you. When you are turning it back in, because I'm kind of OCD, I do have a habit of facing my bills so they all go to the same direction. It is a good thing to do. It does prevent errors. The other thing is your money should look nice when you turn it back in. It should not be, shouldn't say necessarily wrinkled, but it should have, the corners should be flattened out. It shouldn't have big folds or bends. Half of it shouldn't be folded over or creased or something. It should all lay flat, look nice, so that it can be stacked nicely and properly and banded and put with a paper clip on it. The banding it and putting in stacks really helps when you start counting large amounts of money. And I've had to count tens of thousands of dollars after large conventions where there were several different banks, 5, 6, 7 different 8 banks that all had to go back into one major bank. And it's really difficult to do if you're not putting everything into denominations and then counting those denominations in stacks, then counting out the stacks and putting it together to get to those kind of large numbers, and writing it all down too, most importantly. And write it down too if you need to, and use a calculator. We all have a calculator right here on our phone. Now it's very easy to do, so there's no reason to not have a calculator. Double check with the calculator. Don't try to be a superstar math whiz. So pretty easy right there. When you're turning in your money, you're going to double check the numbers against the POS system, what it tells you the cash that you need to turn in. In most instances, you will probably take your credit card tips with you that day. You'll take it out of the cash to remit, the cash to be given back to the restaurant or bar, as that is. Cash to remit is what it generally says in the paperwork. And then, you'll take the rest of the cash and take it home. Once again, you'll take big bills in, not the small bills. A lot of places, most places, not all places, will have some sort of cash in slip to where it will have a fill-in for each denomination. Say I'm turning in 123 $1 bills, I would put 123 $1 bills times 1 equals $123. For the $5 bills, I would just do the same thing. I'm turning in, 25 $5 bills, that's $125. Times 5 is $125, $125, put it right there. So it's pretty easy to do. Just add it up all at the end with your phone. Like I said, with the calculator on your phone, pretty easy to do, not too hard. Put it in with your money, drop it, make sure it's accurate. Like I said, it should be turned in most times to a manager on duty. However, some of the places I've worked here where I live, where I wasn't leaving until 2 or 3 in the morning, but the managers did not stay there all night because it's hotels. The only employees there all night were maintenance, security, and front desk, because the front desk never closes. So I would just have to drop it in a safe, which sucks sometimes, because if there's a problem, you don't necessarily, have someone to speak with that can go into the computer and try to fix that problem. If you do have that situation, write them a note. If you found the problem, or you think you know what the problem is, or you have any idea, just leave them an extensive note. These are the kind of notes I write. Leave them an extensive note on what you think the problem is or what went wrong. Like I said, in a situation where, I meant to put a $10 tip and I accidentally put a $100 tip. Yeah, there's no manager at the end of the night to fix that, I have to write an extensive note about why this is this way. I need you to go back in and correct this, please, and put the right tip in. So just be diligent. Just make sure you're paying attention to the money when you're taking it, you're turning it in. The other thing about money is that on vacation in tourist areas and bars and stuff like that is a lot of times where people will try to get rid of counterfeit money, because there's a lot of small bills and, 50s and hundreds changing hands every day, and places taking a lot of cash, those type of environments taking a lot of cash. It is very common. Where I lived in Florida, it was very common for it to happen there, because there are a lot of people from a lot of states coming into that town every week. And it's really easy to drop a couple fake hundreds at different restaurants along the way one day and then just leave. And that's it. You're gone by the end of the day. 5 different restaurants have contacted the police and feds, and you've gotten your change and you're already gone. So it's really one of the things that does happen a lot and does come up a lot. So just kind of pay attention to the bill. All bills, thought about kind of holding one up here, but it didn't work as well as I would have liked it to, for an example. But if you do hold one up and hold one up to the light, if I held it up here, I'll be able to see it, but you won't really be able to see it on the camera. All bills have 2 things that are in there. Number one is a watermark, or something you can see by looking through it. And the other thing is a strip. They all have a metal strip in them that says the denomination. So if it's a $100 bill, it says US 100 on the strip, US 100, US 100. And it's a piece of metal. You can actually pick at it and peel it out, take it out if you want to pick at it and mess up your money. You can do that. It's a fun trick. The other thing is, once again, the watermark. So it's just kind of important to hold it up to a light, or you can usually hold it up to the POS screen. The POS screen will backlight it and let you see. If it feels wrong or something feels off or it feels kind of weird, take a good look at it. Make sure you're looking at it. Make sure it's got the proper marks. One of the biggest ones that I think we got the last time I had this class about it was that people were taking $5 bills, washing the ink off and making them into $50 bills. But the reason you could tell the difference between the 5 and the 50 was if you held it up to the light. The watermark on a $5 bill is a number 5. The watermark on a $50 bill is a president's face. So you could take the fake 50, held it up, and you could see the number 5, and you could tell that it was once a $5 bill that had been taken and made into a 50. So do kind of beware of counterfeit money. It does come here and there. Check it. I have had it happen. Luckily, not when I was on shift, but I did come to work one day in Florida, and the barback had taken a fake $100 bill. And they let me get a good look at it, and I can't believe he took it. It was obviously, I don't even think it was the right size. So it was obviously not a real $100 bill. It was a fake $100 bill. If you do have any questions about it, get a manager. Ask a manager. I mean, you don't have to take it. You don't have to take money if you're not sure about it. So yeah, if you got any questions about any bills or you're not really sure, just ask a manager, get their advice, then back you up. Do not get into any trouble. If you do find a bill that is off, you are required to hold it and contact your local authorities. They have to contact the FBI. So if it does ever come across, yes, you do have to report it to the FBI, and just go through your local police, and they will report to the FBI immediately, and they will come down and they will retrieve the bill from you. They are very good about that. They will be there very, very fast. So that was today's lesson. Kind of did it in 2 little parts there. I don't want to go too long. I know it is Thanksgiving coming up tomorrow, and I hope everybody has a great time. So unless you have a question, Tracer, maybe.
I'm not. I don't have actually. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. I don't want to keep you guys long. Enjoy the holiday.
Yeah, I didn't think there'd be too many people in here today, so no worries though. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Please be safe. Wear your mask. Please be careful if you are going to visit family, that no one has a cough or a sick or a fever or anything. And be careful, and we will see you next week. Have a great holiday.